the earth indeed laughs and flowers, as Ralph Waldo Emerson supposed, then it has become clear to us that the Pixies Potager is bursting to overflowing with nature's wild mirth, and her laughter is contagious, or, at the very least, uncontainable. Last year, when we began to lay out the potager at the little house where the pixies live, it was imperative to me that there be some flowers that could be cut for the table and add to the charm of the garden with their colorful personalities. In response, the pixies chose a packet of zinnias with which to start their cutting garden. We excitedly sprinkled them in one garden box and impatiently waited for the bounty of blooms to burst forth. Alas, our hopes were dashed when a few spindly-legged plants half-heartedly gave life a try and then quickly died back. So this year, we innocently planted our beets in the box previously inhabited by the zinnias. What we didn't realize was that we hadn't lost a few sickly flowers, but instead had gained a few hundred. While the rest of the leafy folks stayed in their borders politely, with the exception of the curious and determined pumpkins, who had already been coaxed back inside their boxes more than once, the zinnias had wandered. Everywhere we turned, there was a zinnia. They peeked around buckets, tried out the tomatoes' beds, and even stopped to visit with the bananas and the roses. In a word, they were incorrigible. The mint, who had kept a careful eye on the zinnia's shenanigans and would have liked to have joined in their wanderings, watched in palpable envy and admiration from their containers. We tried desperately to corral them, transplanting them into planters in an orderly fashion, only to turn around and find one loose zinnia watching us curiously from the middle of our pathway. And while Oscar Wilde may have been correct when he mused that a flower blossoms for its own joy, we felt it was high time they lent a bit of that joy to the interior of the little house. As a small girl, I was delighted by my grandmother Rue cleverly bunching fresh-cut flowers from her garden into beautiful centerpieces for her table. She grew a garden of roses for just this purpose, and I was certain that the rose bushes, which towered over me as I accompanied her in her selection of each perfect blossom, were simply holding their tongues in my presence and would resume their chatty ways the moment I left them. Thank you, Lewis Carroll, for awakening the voices of the flowers in every childhood flower garden I ever walked through. Obviously, my imagination recognized no innate limitations, and thus the pixies come by their own imaginings, quite naturally. So with aprons donned and their copper scissors in hand, the pixies set out with their harvest basket to collect some of the exuberantly growing herbs and the wayward zinnias for their future floral creations. Wormwood foliage would be their base, they decided. Zinnias would be the stars in their designs, and parsley flowers would lend a lacy, ethereal quality to the bouquets. Scabiosa was selected for their project, and spires of Thai basil flowers were cut to grant a whimsical and fragrant effect. Small discussions ensued regarding which blossoms should be left alone and who would be able to send forth new flowers once cut. Pixies want no part in discouraging their plant folk. Satisfied with my assurances, the two set about filling small porcelain antique pitchers with riotous arrays of colorful flowers to bring a bit of the potager to the inside of the little house. Beside Rue's refined eye and skill for creating beautiful bouquets, the Pixies' paternal great-grandmother and grandfather grew fields of colorful flowers and owned a popular local flower shop in a small coastal town in California during the last century. And the Pixies' paternal auntie is an exceptional floral designer who specialized in weddings and unique floral bouquets that were much sought after. Perhaps a bit of that floral artistry is stamped on the Pixies' DNA, and now, having witnessed their inexperienced but diligent handiwork, I tend to believe it does, and will only grow with every flower bouquet they create in the future. For now, it's enough to give the wild and prolific zinnias a destination and a purpose beyond their own pursuits, which seems to be to multiply faster than the average rabbit and inhabit every corner of the potager and beyond at breakneck speed. As Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote, "It's only goodness which gives extras," and so I say again that we have much hope from the flowers. I believe the Pixies are in agreement with Sir Arthur's musings and are eagerly awaiting the flowers' next burst of abundance, which they can then harvest and tuck into vases to brighten the inside of the little house where they live. Thank you for joining us on our little adventure in rewilding both the Pixies and ourselves, and please consider liking our channel and subscribing. We'll see you next time.